Hello and good Woch. One and all, let me just that's not what I want. Okay. All right. This is done. All right. Here we go. Sipurey Baal Shemtov. Now we are Motzei Shabbos, Parshas Vayishlach. The second parsha, Yaakov Avinu enters the scene. Last week's parsha. Basically, he's going to be present in all the parshas until the end of Bereshis. As we can see that he's going through a lot, let's put it mildly. And so we learn when he comes to his meeting with Esav this week's parsha. So Yaakov Avinu is preparing himself, for tefillah and for war and for gift, bribing, whatever you want to call it. And when we learn this is that Yaakov sent angels to his brother Esav, Rashi says real angels, not euphemistically, messengers. Any messenger is called an angel, There's just no. We're talking about real, honest to goodness angels. So the question is, why does he have to send angels to Esav? Besides the fact that he chose you, the level of spirituality that Esav was holding at. I'm talking about, as a Rosh as he was able to see angels. Okay, so we're talking about a very different scale of human being than we're talking about today. Well, we see that there are few more things that Yaakov Avinu is doing. He's sending angels to Esav, and he's dividing the camps into two camps. This is, if one camp is going to be beaten, chas v'chalila, then the next camp B'ezrat Hashem will survive. So there are a few things that need to be learned from that. Rav Nosson speaks about it, and he says, first of all, the meaning of sending angels. Why dafka send real angels? Why not send regular angels? Besides the fact, obviously, that angels don't have the kind of limitations that people have. Angels, you send them, and you send angels, they're here now, and boom, they're in the Shemayim, or they're wherever it is you sent them, right? So Yaakov Avinu is teaching us two things. First of all, the angels are the letters of the tefillah. Letters of the tefillah are very small, and I mean they're printed in the book. So you're saying it. What does it change? What does it do? The answer is the letters of the tefillah that you utter when you find yourself in a need. The letters don't have your limitations. The letters are malachim. The letters can do things that you cannot do. The only thing you need to do is you need to send them off. You need to say the tefillah. Just, launch them and believe. Zako. They will do whatever they need to do. That's point number one. Point number two is separate the split the camp into two. So if one is beaten, the surviving one will stay. It also says that this is a great musar, a great eitzah for us, because we can very often find ourselves, very conflicted. We don't know what is the right thing to do, especially when we're trying to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we're trying to get rid of certain vices, midasros, and we're not very successful. I mean, the same monster keeps coming back and again and again and again. So Rav Nosson says that the main thing that you need to keep at that point in time is to keep your presence of mind, to keep an equilibrium, to remain in equilibrium, which means chap whatever you can, do whatever you can. Esav comes onto you with confusions, with storm wind, with screaming and shouting all over the place and saying you're worth it, you're not worth it, you're going to make it, you're not going to make it, whatever it is. Or the question is, whatever it is you can do. Whatever you took, you have. You can learn a little. Okay, so learn a little. You have bilbulim with vices and taivas and whatever it is. Do what you can. Chop what you can, because life passes. It goes on. These are the two things that Yaakov Avinu said. Don't lose your head, because you see, I'm so flooded with negativity and with failure and whatever it is. Okay, but I do what I do. Hashem do what He does. I'm happy whatever it is that I can out of life. The Gemara says, the only thing that we are able, and the only thing that we can pick is like a rooster, picking in a garbage heap. What's a rooster just goes looking all directions and puts another comes in and says, how does he see? I don't know. But in between, all the garbage, there is a kernel of wheat or corn. Boop, takes it out. It's called pid shlotanego. Just a little tzup. That's it. That's his food. Says this is our food. In this world, you have to chop. You have to like pick out a little nugget of chayas of kedusha amongst. I've been making a cheshbon. Come on, let's take a look where I am. Where this is it. It is like where I'm supposed to be is like so far, so different. So Yaakov Avinu says, don't worry about it. You do what you can. So without further ado, let's go with the Sipurey Baal Shemtov, and we'll see what it is we can do with Sichos Haran. The Sikha for tonight, more than it is complicated, is actually long. So, let's take a look at it. Elul Baal Shemtov. Chodesh Elul, Talmid Baal Shemtov prepared themselves for a tefillah of Yom Chol. They're standing in Besmedrash and waiting for the Rebbe, for the Baal Shem Tov to come in to start davening. At the latter hour, Baal Shem Tov comes into Besmedrash and he's extremely serious. And he comes to his place and leans on the table, but he waits and he is slow to open up his siddur. And he's standing in his place and he's deep in thought, whatever Baal Shem Tov. Obviously, none of the Talmidim dared stare the tzaddik on, tell him, time is flying. And the tzaddik is still, deep in thought. And it was obvious to them that he's no longer in, his consciousness is no longer in this world. And so passed a long time, Baal Shem Tov, comes back, as it were, and opens up his siddur, and his face is beaming with tremendous inner simcha. The tefillah itself is not different than any other tefillah. Baal Shem Tov davens very long, tremendous dvekus, fused into HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It was quite obvious that something quite stupendous was taking place. So the tefillah was over. Talmid Baal Shem, waited for him to understand, what was going on, what was happening. And the Baal Shem Tov did not wait for anybody to tell him anything, to ask. And he already told him, he says, listen, there's a small village not far from here. There's a Jew that grew up, was educated in a Jewish home. But as he became older, he, as they say, he went off the derech, OTD, as they say today. And he started, having with Goyish friends. And little by little, he joined their gang and until he became like one of them. And, that's it. He left his Yishka behind. And years had passed since then. The man left the area where he was born. He went to live amongst the Goyim. He lived like a total Goy. For years, he totally forgot his, the Jewish way of life. Tefillah, and minhagim. And like this past 30 years like that. One day, this Jew comes to one of the Jewish towns around, for business. Suddenly he sees there's a lot of special commotion going on in the streets of the town. He was very curious what was going on. He wanted to do to one of the Jews over there. He says, what's going on? What's flying? So he says, we're getting ready. He thought, that Jew thought it was a guy. He says, we're getting ready now for a festival called Rosh Hashanah. The Jew says very famous thing, by us, the Jewish tradition, this is the day where men was created. That's the day the entire world is being judged. And the words of this simple person really hit the heart and soul of this Jew. And maybe the word by us is the thing that did it, that sort of like showed him the chasm that is opened between him and where he's coming from. Maybe it was the mentioning of the coming judgment day. This way, that's way. This Jew kept on going between the stalls in the market. And when, childhood memories starting coming to his mind, and tremendous longing came into, for his childhood days, really burning his heart, his neshama. Remember the Shabbosim, the Yom Tovim, the Kiyas Sheva in Shul, and the holiness that surrounded everybody. He was very emotional. The emotion really choked him. He could touch. He could feel. The memory was so real, so thick. You can cut it, you can touch it, and he got filled with amazing excitement. Suddenly he feels, the different, the sharp difference between the two worlds. Now, how he basically forsook a world that is wealthy with spirituality for a life of, empty, clubbing, farming and gunning, whichever you want to call it. And he was filled with tremendous longing to his childhood. He was still walking around in the streets of that town, of the shtetl, and he found himself standing in front of the shul of the town. In the day, the night has already come, and the became darker, and voices of tefillah, came out, and the voices sounded so close to him, so real. And he was like really, really moved. And he looked at the Jews that are coming into shul to daven Maariv, and he had a tremendous cheshek to go in and join them. But he was embarrassed. He was embarrassed in the way he looked, and his clothing, and he looked like a total goy. But the inner storm that he experienced was so strong that he wasn't able to stop himself. And so he went into the Ezras Nashim, and he hid behind the curtain, to see into the shul. And when the Chazan called out, he shook, his entire body shook. Everything was so familiar to him. He wanted to join the davening, but his memory failed him. And a tremendous pain, really skewered his heart. And he cried bitterly. When the last of the Mispalalim left the shul, that person took a sinner and started davening with tremendous kavanah. And his heart was like intertwining with every single word that he said. He said, "Ribono shel olam, I know there isn't a bigger sinner in the world than I am." And now he started to enumerate whatever it is that he did. However, I know that you're all merciful, and I beg you to please to forgive all my sins and all my crimes. And from now on, I'm not going to do this again. I just want to return and be a Jew. Please accept me. And the tefillah and the regret of this Jew have created a great noise in the Shemayim. The Baal Shemtov said to his Talmidim, the tefillah of this Jew, it looked like somebody was already totally lost to Am Yisrael, went to Kisa Kovid, and with it elevated tefillahs that were waiting to be elevated for hundreds of years. He says, I saw what was going on in the heart of this Jew, the Baal Shem Tov said. I waited for his prayer. I wanted to daven together with him. That's the reason for why the tefillah today was so late. But we were zeicher to daven with a Baal Tshuva. And our tefillah went together with his tefillah to the Ribono Shel Olam, to Kadosh Baruch Hu. We find a similar principle. Rabbeinu says in Torah Kuf Yud Beis, that the tefillahs, when are not the way they're supposed to be, they don't go up. Then when a person is zecher to say tefillah b'chavana, with an emes, that the tefillahs go up. All the tefillahs that were until now could not, all the tefillahs that the person davened, and they were not really clean. They were not really the way they're supposed to be. When you say one word of clean truth, it goes up, it takes all the other tefillahs with it. But we're also seeing another principle at work. Rabbeinu says that, and this is a very important principle, there is an inyan that a Jew is being pushed from his stature where he's standing and being pushed down to madrigas, to places that Hashem Yirachem, and he can stay there and seemingly have fun there or whatever. And one day he decides that he wants to do tshuva. What happens is that a Jew is being pushed mishamayim deliberately, sometimes to fall to these places. And the only reason why is because at those places where that Jew fell were other neshamas, and they were locked. They could not get out. Either they passed away. I don't know what it could be for hundreds of years already. And when that Yid fell into that madrega and pulled himself even with Ritzonis, just wanted to get out of there. The koyach of the tzaddik, of the koyach of the Baal Shemtov, he had the koyach to get out. And with him, he takes out all the neshamas that were in that particular level, that particular place, this disgusting place where each of us may at one time or another have found himself. It's a tremendous thing called Matzil Nefesh Achat Yisrael. It's an amazing thing. Let's take a quick look, B'ezrat Hashem, on Sichos Haran for tonight. Rather long and amazing Sicha. So we look here. And we're talking about Sicha Tzadik Vav, 96. Rabbeinu says as follows: it is befitting for a person to make himself used to live in Olam Haba. What does it mean? In other words, to live separate from Taivas. Like Olam Haba, there's no eating, there's no drinking, there's none of the animalistic Taivas that the begin and end of this world. And when it says that the way we see that the choila, somebody who is ill, is sick, because he's a little closer to Olam Haba, he doesn't want to eat. He doesn't want to eat. He doesn't want to drink. He doesn't want to have anything to do with Taivas. He doesn't have any Taivas fakir. The Taivas by him, that when people are young and they cannot even fathom how can you live without these Taivas, they're disgusting to him. Because he's close to Olam Haba, that there's no eating, there's no drinking, so forth and so on. When it says a person should get himself used to living that way while he's still alive and still healthy, to behave without the taivas, without the vices, like in Olam Haba. And Rabbeinu says, if a person would remind himself, would have any memory of the pleasures of the world to come. So you see, if that was possible, he wouldn't be able bichlal to stand living and the enjoyment of this world. And it says that's the reason that forgetfulness is so important. Even though forgetfulness is not a midah Torah, it's not a good midah, still it's a milah, because that enables a person to live in this world. Because if you would remember the pleasure of Olam Haba, because there is a malach, there's an angel who's huge, and that angel has 1,000 heads, and every single head has 1,000 tongues, and every tongue has 1,000 voices, and every single voice has 1,000 melodies. So you can imagine we're talking about 1,000 times 1,000 and times 1,000 times 1,000, 4 times. In other words, this is a 1,000 in a time of, the power of 4. I don't know how many zeros that is. When 1,000 is a million. Here we're talking about millions. Millions. We're talking about that's millions is. Um, but anyhow, it is a certain thing that's to do with physics. What happens a million times? Um, I think that the first second is the first second of what they call the big boom of creation. The expansion was a million millions. And every single voice has a million. So you're talking about everything singing in concert, everything in total harmony. He says, and what that angel stands to sing, he says, it is incredible, it's beautiful and pleasurable. He says there's no way in the body, well, the person is in his corporeal body to even to imagine and to estimate the beauty and the pleasure of that music. He says that if a person will remember, how lowly he is and how, you know, against this, vis-a-vis that, he says he won't be able to stand living with him. He says he will be totally disgusted with the idea of living, that he will die before his time. It was like, ugh. Especially if in the same thing, it says, if a person would remember, if a person would even, bring into his mind how low he is, especially people that are very dirty, and very disgusting. They're steeped in such averus and such. He says, if there was no forgetfulness, he would never be able to lift himself away to Hashem. He says, well, just remember what I really am and what I've just done and what I'm doing, that, there's a Shem Yirachem. It's like law aleinu v'lo aleichem. It's like whatever. There was a case here in my neighborhood where law aleichem, a son stabbed his father and he killed him. I mean, apparently the father was abusive. He was the father was not mentally right, whatever it is. But the child, as abused and whatever it is that he was, I mean, how do you live with that? How can anybody possibly live with this idea? You won't be able to do anything. You won't be able to lift himself. And so forgetfulness, I mean, it says that's how forgetfulness is a mila from that side. It says, however, a person should remind himself, so he shouldn't lose his world. His olam haba Hashem yilach. Chazal said, Kadosh Baruch Hu will give every single tzaddik 310 universes. If you just, in this world, without being able to see anything, just imagine in your own mind the greatness of one universe, with all the worlds and all the highways and all the real estate and all the countries and all the villages and all the states and all the countries and and how big the world is and how many stars and how many universes are in there. And above this, there is Galgalim, and Mazolis, and every single word is like this, and every single universe is like that. And there's everything that is in our universe. There are 310 of those. And all this exists in just one universe out of all these universes. Kadosh Baruch Hu gives 310 of those to every tzaddik. Now, how precious, how the greatness in his pleasure that the tzaddik will get from all this. This says that The entire world cannot fill the space of the heart of a king, because the king has in his heart the entire country. We cannot even understand what that means. But the king has the entire country in his heart. And especially in Olam Haba, where you are able to see everything at once and experience everything at once. In this world, we are constricted, if we look at one thing, we cannot look at another thing, and so on and so on. But in Olam Haba, that's not going to be the case. You can see anything and everything at once. That's what Adam Rishon was able to see. The light of Bereshis, the first light. It said a person could see from the end of the world to the other end of the world. Meaning we're not just from here to Timbuktu. This is also from here to Olam Atzilus. In other words, that when that light is shining and you see the computer and the Zoom picture on it and the letters and your house and your chair and your table and whatever it is going on in your life, with this light, you don't see a table and a chair and a computer, and this what you see godliness in the shape of a computer, godliness in the shape of a table, godliness in the shape of a chair, and so forth and so on. Everything is godliness constricted and confined to a specific bria. In other words, wherever you look, you see a HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And every single confinement, constriction is a different kind of expression of Holocaust. You think about the whole universe, all the world, all the streets, all the things, everything. You took 310 of universes with the stars, and each and one of them is another expression of Holocaust. I mean, it's impossible in this world even to imagine. And he says it's impossible to imagine. Now, there is a tzaddik, Rabbeinu says, that is building these worlds from the strife. Because all the diburim of strife that every person speaks are stones, because the letters are called stones in Sefer Yetzirah. 2 stones build, 2 houses, 3 stones, 6 houses, and so on and so on. So every word is called, every letter is called a stone. These are the chilukei avonim, these are the pebbles. These stones come from the diburim of machlokes, of strife. And what happens is that they cannot connect. A strife means something that separates things. It cannot connect. And the tzaddik takes all these pebbles, all these stones, all these diburim, and puts them together and builds houses from them. In Torah Beis, in the Likutei Moharan, Rabbeinu says that all the diburim, the Talmidei Chachamim, which are bechina, which learn Torah shelo lishma, and the bechina of what Rabbeinu calls Zohar calls them Jewish demons, and they speak against the tzaddik. And what these diburim actually are is the halachas that these Talmidei Chachamim, the Jewish demons, learned, and the tzaddik understands them and rebuilds and takes into the kedusha the halachas that they learned. It's a very, very deep Indian. And the tzaddik takes these stones and puts them together and builds houses from them, and he makes peace between them, and he puts them together and he puts them in order until he builds one house. This is Shlom Bais, that he builds one house. And from all these houses becomes a town. From all this town becomes a full world. It's the same thing, all the 310 worlds. To endow those that I love, yesh, shimyud. Ohavai, those that love me, those that I love. We're talking about love and peace. There's the love and peace that is taking all these pebbles, all these stripes, all these, building blocks that we used in vain for people to argue, puts them together and builds a whole world. And this is what Abigail, she was a Neviah, she was the wife of David HaMelech. Before that, she was married to Novel. were Kameli. And David HaMelech, he went against David HaMelech, and David HaMelech, wanted to, take care of him. So Abigail traveled all night, and she came to him. She was a prophetess. And this she said to David when Novel, disputed on him and spoke badly of him. And she told him, Atayadati, now I have known ki bais yasalech Hashem. She said, now I know that Hashem will make you a bias, a home. In other words, through this machloika, through that strife that her husband was a wicked man, disputed David HaMelech, Yaselech Hashem, Hashem will make for you a bias from these stones. Because the tzaddik is always judged favorably, all those who dispute him, that, he doesn't kav schus, whether they're kavod, L'Shem Shamayim, they mean it, L'Shem Shamayim. They don't know, they may be mistaken, okay, but they're kavod, L'Shem Shamayim. Because otherwise the world could not withstand the light of the tzaddik. There's all kinds of, we spoke about it quite a few times. The light of the tzaddik is so big, and there are all kinds of judgments and big kitrugim on the really true big tzaddik. And those that dispute him, with this, they quieten down the dinim, the kitrugim. Because we can see that when there is a harsh judgment on a person, and one person becomes very jealous and says, I'm going to take care of him. I'm going to take care of him. I'm just leave it to me. I'm going to take care of him. And I will make a judgment on him. And with this, he silences the other Baladim, the other people who judge him. It wouldn't be possible. They would totally, bring him down. So you see that one who is going to avenge, take a revenge on him is doing him a great favor. Because Bevada is much easier to be, to suffer the din of one than Chas v'Chalil to suffer the din of the judgments of many. He says we found this specifically in Pinchas, in the Ma'aseh of Zimri. Because in one of Pinchas, Chas v'Chalil, Am Yisrael, were, I don't want to say, but because Pinchas came out, and he came out with zealotry, with jealousy, and he was Mekana the king of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. With this, he silent off the judgment from Am Yisrael. It says, Bekano et kinasi b'seichon. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says he was jealous, my jealousy amongst them, and I did not, chas v'chalila, annihilate chuli. Same thing as somebody who disputes the tzaddik, says, I'm going to do it to him. I'm going to show him. I'm going to really take care of him. I'm going to show him what's what. With this, he silences all the other judgments. And he's doing a great favor to the tzaddik. That's one thing. Now also, besides the fact that he silences the other judgment, the other voices, he's also doing a favor to this specific tzaddik. Because when the tzaddik needs to go from one madriga to the next, is to elevate up and up and up. Because, okay, we're talking about people like us. So what's at stake is usually, there's a machshava of a vice, a bear, or whatever it is. And we either, fend it off, or we fall, we get up, whatever. But we're talking about tzaddikim. Tzaddikim are people who they're not going to make an appearance. In other words, by them, it's no longer a question whether to do what is the right thing to do, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants or not. That's no longer the question. By tzaddikim, it's already becomes the question is, what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu want me to do right now? That's the bechira of a tzaddik. And it says that it's tzaddikim that they already know that. Even they know that too. So it says, what's the choice? What's the free choice of these tzaddikim? So he says when he needs to go from one right to the next, we're holding in Torah Chav Beis that before you can go up, you have to go down. So how do you do that? When a tzaddik has to go from one madriga to the next, they test him. How? They test him if he have the koyach to stand in the hall of the king. What is the hall of the king? In the story of Daniel, where this pasuk is taken from, Nebuchadnezzar says, take boys but can hold themselves, from needing to go to the bathroom every 5 minutes, so they can stand within in the hall of the king. Heichal HaMelech in Ruchnius, spiritually, is the mouth of the tzaddik, which is called Heichal. Heichal is Gematria Aleph Dal Nun Yud. It's the mouth. Every time we want to daven, we says Hashem Sfatay Tiftach, Hashem, open up my lips. So Adnei is the mouth, Malchus Pen, and that tzaddik that disputes him is a test to the tzaddik that the first tzaddik disputes. It's a test for him. Does he have a koyach to withstand that trial, being tested, being persecuted, or not? If he has a koyach to withstand in the heichal, in the hall of the mouth of the other tzaddik that disputes him. Because that other tzaddik disputes him, and with this, he's elevated from one madrega to the next. So you see, this is doing him a great favor. We covered a lot of ground, and there really isn't a lot of time to speak about all these inyanim. But the one nekuda that really should always stand up for us, and the thing that we have to try internalizing. It's the hardest thing to internalize, but that's the one thing that we need to. That is, we all say the right things. The main thing is the tachlis. The main thing is, Elam Haba, and the only thing is, we can talk the talk, no problem. It becomes a little problematic, when it comes, get down to business. When you actually, how's my day? During davening, during business, during that, what is actually going in my mind? It's not always Olam Haba. It's not always the tachlis. In fact, it rarely is. It rarely is. Most of the time, my wife, she had my feelings, or she, whatever it is, she put me down, and I'm embarrassed, or this one, or that one. I have a business with this, will it come out? Well, it won't come off, will come off, whatever it is. I feel good, I feel bad, whatever. All these are the things that, I talk nice, but Lamaisa, what do I actually do? The idea is that when Rabbeinu says that the person should get himself used to living in Olam Haba, in order to first, the beginning of the Sicha has to be tied to the end of the Sicha. And at the end of the Sicha talks about the mouth of the tzaddik disputes another tzaddik. The beginning of the Sicha says a person needs to get himself used to living in Olam Haba without taivas. So, as we said, I can talk the talk, but I'm having much more trouble walking the walk, right? So once somebody asked Rabbeinu, Rabbeinu spoke about a heart, an open heart. So somebody asked him, how you zeicha to this heart? How you zeicha to this open heart? How can you do that? So Rabbeinu says, you open your heart with your mouth. There's also a tied to the Torah Lamed Dalet that we're learning in the Breslau of the Shul on Thursday nights. The way to open the heart, to even have the notion, because you can't live, in accordance to Olam Haba and stay away from Taivas of Olam Hazeh unless it's on your mind. And it will not be on your mind unless it's going to be on your lips. So the way to do it is start talking to the Baruch and just bring it up, just surface this inyan. I'm supposed to, this afternoon, I learned with my wife on the table, Rabbeinu says about that when a person is picky about what he eats, it's called Taivas Achila. Okay? In other words, if somebody serves you sushi, it's okay to eat, but to go ahead and get sushi specifically, That's a little problematic. I'm just kidding. So being picky about what you eat and what you don't eat, this is called Tavis Achila. We can say that very easily, isn't it? I mean, yeah, I just said it. Ta-da-dam, ta-da-dam. When a person is picky about what he's eating, this is called Tavis Achila. Huh? Amazing. What do you think I did after Shabbos? A friend, my chavrusa, his daughter is an unbelievable baker, and he knocks on my door, 11 o'clock in the morning. He knocks on my door. I open the door. There he stands with an aluminum pan, whatever it's called. Inside, something's called creme schnitz, a Napoleon cake. I don't know, you know what it is. Okay. On Shabbos, definitely after Kiddush, no problem, eat it. What's Shabbos? Okay, me and my daughter got into a fight of how much of the creme schnitz I'm going to eat, how much of the creme schnitz she's going to eat. And Shalashudas, I told my wife, Tavis Achila, or if you're picky, whatever it is, what's a Shabbos? I already arguing about creme schnitz. Okay, so talking the talk is one thing. Walking the walk, not so easy. But I will never get to actually walking the walk unless I talk the talk and talk about it and bring it up and look at the incongruity between what I say and what I do. And then slowly I will come to the point where I'm starting to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for me to ask to start getting rid of that vice. I'm not talking about getting rid of it yet. I'm talking about how to talk about it, to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for it. One step, one step, one step. At the end, B'ezrat Hashem, you get to it. First, you remember once out of 100 times. Then you remember twice out of 100 times. So we started the Sichos saying, the way that we pick in this world is like a rooster picking kernels from a garbage heap. That is our Avodas Hashem. Tremendous, tremendous, tremendous. I want to thank you so much for coming tonight. B'ezrat Hashem, there is going to be another shir tonight, but I don't think that we're going to be able to Zoom it. It's going to be in Hebrew anyhow. But so the next time, all those who wishes to join, we're going to be on Monday night learning Sipurey Baal Shemtov. And I don't know if we're going to finish. We finished the Maaseh from Prince that was made out of precious stones or not. So maybe we'll finish this, or we'll start with Hashem a new Maaseh. Should all have a fantastic week, a good Tavoch, to be healthy and wealthy, and everything good.